Hey guys, it is Mr. Wright doing take two of my lecture on Popocatepetl and Ixthaccihuatl because the first time I tried to do it on my wife's computer in the old corner and it froze up like 9 minutes in. This will take a minute, but it's good. I promise it's good because I already did it once. So now I'm probably going to be doing all my videos from here. This is my computer, the sweet rig, the one I built myself. I could get a better camera, which I might, but this is my little corner that I built for you guys, little mini Mr. Wright classroom. So I just want to go over a few things as far as what you should, what you want to know, especially if you have struggled with or if you didn't have a chance to do everything from this first week. This will catch you all up on Popocatepetl and Ixthaccihuatl. So I'm going to start off just by going through the packet. So this is the beginning of the packet. I was very cocky the first time, and I think I was cursed by that, and the computer froze. But I'm going to be cocky again. I'm going to say I'm going to get this one. So I'm just going to throw them to the side when I'm done with them. Okay, except this one. This one you're not going to throw to the side because this one is your table of contents, which on an average week hopefully will tell you the actual order of events, right? This time it was off because we started later than they wanted to, but whatever. These next ones go into greater detail on that. Honestly, don't need it. There's stuff about using Pearson. Then you get to your first lesson. So I recreate all these lessons as Word documents in your assignments. So that's going to be the main way most of you do it, is go into those Word documents, and it's going to be the same questions. It's always going to be what they give me, same stuff. Just I'm going to make it a Word document where you scroll through and answer it. So you'll do most of that there. If you want to see what it looked like originally, you can do that in the packet. But the main thing that most of you are going to be coming to the packet for, this is all just like table of contents, blah, blah, blah. Okay, the main thing you're going to be coming to the packet for, besides the lessons, there's lesson 2, is the readings. So this is where you're going to find the readings in these packets that I post. I'm going to try and better label them and have them like sorted out, but they're always going to be in files. So lesson 1 was all just getting to know teams, whatever. Lesson 2, what do you know about myths, right? So this is where you could be, like if you know that, say, for instance, like in Greek mythology, half of the gods that we know about in Greek mythology and talk about and have stories of are like the children of people that like Zeus, the main god, was like, ooh, I'm getting horny and I'm bored with my wife, so I'm gonna pretend I'm gonna disguise myself as a human and just go have some kids, or sometimes like disguise myself as an animal and like I don't know, there was weird stuff. He was like a swan once. And anyway, so like myths though are these old stories that we use these crazy relationships and people and personal experiences to explain like why things are the way they are, right? So like the Greeks would use it to explain like how death worked, and like, you know, they would use it to explain like, you know, the relationships that like caused an island to be in a certain place or whatever, right? So Popocatepetl and Ixtaccihuatl is like that, except it is an Aztec myth. Yes. So it takes place in Mexico. And on lesson 2, one of the main things you had to do was the first read guide. And the first read guide, I recreate it for you as just questions, but it's basically you're just responding to and picking a couple passages from the reading. So this time I did the reading on a recording that you can listen to if you want to. I highly recommend it. It's a really cool story. So if you didn't read it, definitely listen to it. It'll probably take less time than this lecture. Anyway, so Popocatepetl and Ixtaccihuatl is an Aztec myth from Mexico before it became Mexico, when it was still like the Native Americans, except like the the Native Americans who occupy what is now known as Mexico, who are mostly Aztec. It's one of their myths about how these two volcanoes came to be, Popocatepetl and Ixtaccihuatl. And so I highlighted 2 things. I highlighted the first place we meet Ixtaccihuatl. Her name was Ixtaccihuatl. Her parents and her friends call her Ixtha. She had a pleasant disposition, and as a result she had many friends. The great palace where she lived with the emperor and empress rang with their laughter, and they came to the parties her parents gave for her. As well as being a delightful companion, Ixtha was also very pretty, even beautiful. So we have this. This is the girl around which this story is going to kind of take place. And her father, the emperor, is like really powerful, but he's getting old, and he's forbidden her from getting married because he has this weird idea that the only way she can carry on his legacy if she's not distracted by a man. She needs to just like rule on her own. It's the only way he'll give his empire to her. Which is weird because you'd think he wants descendants, but he's like not rational about it. And so he keeps forbidding her from marrying even after she meets a warrior who fights for him named Popocatepetl, who's like one of the best warriors, right? And eventually, like, he starts to get old, his enemies think he's weak, and they all start plotting to come and like lay siege to his city, right? And so he sends his fighting men out, and he promises them, he's so worried, he wants to show them that he's still got it. So he says, whatever soldier is responsible for crushing my enemies, like, you're gonna get my daughter's hand in marriage, and you're gonna be emperor after me. Right? Like, he's so insecure, and that's clearly what it's about. But Popocatepetl, he doesn't get pissed. He's just like, bet. I'm doing that. I am crushing your enemies. I am being emperor after you. And he does. But then there's these guys that are like jealous of him, that are like, man, he just gets everything. He did it, and everybody's gonna say he did it. We're gonna sneak home first just to be a-holes, and we're gonna spread this rumor that he died. So Ixtaccihuatl, who's in love with him, finds out, the princess, and she dies from just grief, like people do in stories like this, right? And so this picks up right after that. I couldn't pick a small section, so it's kind of a long section, but this is like where you get that delivery of just the romance that's kind of promised in this tragic romance. Popo spoke not a word. He gestured the assembled warriors to follow him, and together they sought after the few jealous men who had given the false news of his death to the emperor. With the army of warriors watching, Popo killed each one of them in single combat with his obsidian-studded club. No one tried to stop him. That task accomplished, Popo returned to the palace, and still without speaking, and still wearing his stiff cotton armor, went to Ixtha's room. He gently lifted her body and carried it out of the palace and out of the city, and no one tried to stop him doing that either. All the warriors followed him in silence. When he had walked some miles, he gestured to them again, and they built a huge pile of stones in the shape of a pyramid. They all worked together, and they worked fast, while Popo stood and watched, holding the body of the princess in his arms. By sunset, the mighty edifice was finished. Popo climbed it alone, carrying Ixtha's corpse with him. There, at the very top, under a heap of stones, he buried the young woman who he had loved so well and for so long, and who had died for the love of him. That night, Popo slept alone at the top of the pyramid by Ixtha's grave. In the morning, he came down and spoke for the first time since the emperor had told him the princess was dead. He told the warriors to build another pyramid, a little to the southeast of the one that held Ixtha's body, and to build it higher than the other. He told them to tell the emperor on his behalf that he, Popocatepetl, would never reign and rule in Tenochtitlan. He would keep watch over the grave of the princess Ixtaccihuatl for the rest of his life. Dang, right? Like, ride or die. Like, he goes all the way. That is the love he has, and that's why it is a tragedy, but it's also a romance, right? So I think that that quote, that section of quotes, really helps to develop like what matters most in this story. So that's why I picked it. So then you can use something like that, like just do the reading, find a cool thing like that, and it can be a big section that you're not even sure. You're just like, this whole section, badass. Not sure what I'm going to do with it, but badass, which is kind of how I felt there. So write a summary and talk about everything that happened. First read guide, those are the things that I noticed, right? Done with lesson 2. Lesson 3. Complete the comprehension questions. Those are pretty straightforward, and they were like in the wrong place here. Here, where does the myth take place? Mexico. What did the emperor forbid? I mean, I went over all this stuff, so you should have this at this point. And then, why do you think people share this myth? Because it's awesome. awesome. It explains why there's two volcanoes from like this tragic love, and that they're volcanoes because like they still know that each other's spirits are near each other, and when that ignites, it like shoots off in like that it's their consciousness recognizing each other. Awesome. Awesome, right? Like you can't get around that. So lesson 4. Take a few minutes to respond to the prompt below. What are your thoughts about the myth you just read and how it relates to our central question? Do we determine our own direction in life and love? It's tough because like the things that mostly decide what happened to them are not in their control. The only thing they can choose is the way they decide to love and what they decide to do with that, regardless of what circumstances presents to them, right? But they don't have a lot of control, right? The only thing they can control is like their individual actions, but they're just like caught up in these things that are bigger than them. Even just the time period that they happen to live and meet each other. So I feel like it gives a complicated answer to that question, right? So then you would begin your evidence log, which I tried to recreate for you. So analyze the text, or well, close read the text, revisit sections. I would revisit the whole section where he kills all the people and then watches over her forever. Awesome. What can I conclude? People like this story because it's passionate, because it's action-packed, because it's got this like eternity love aspect to it, which like really appeals to people. Think about the author's choices of pattern, structure, techniques. So a technique I mentioned in one of my videos was that there is dramatic irony present here. We know something that the characters don't, and it creates tension for us as the reader, right? When the jealous guys come back and say that Popo's dead, we know Popo's not dead, but she doesn't, right? So even though we know he's not dead, we're with her in that moment where she's like, he went to war for my dad and he died, and now that's it. Like that was what I was holding out for. Like I don't really want to be emperor. What have I got to live for? And she just dies of sadness, right? Now, still a little extreme, but I think we've all been in a place. Well, lots of us been in a place where just like we felt that way, even though we knew it was stupid. She just actually died from it. He comes back and what was I doing with that? So yeah, that is an example of a technique and how it applies the story, how it helps accomplish the goals of the story, right? It creates that tension for us because we know the thing that they don't. And then you pick a paragraph from the text that grabbed your interest and explain the power of the passage. Oh man, I would pick the part, let me look. Sorry. I would pick the part where it says, he told them to tell the emperor on his behalf that he, Popocatepetl, would never reign and rule in Tenochtitlan. He would keep watch over the grave of the princess of Ixtaccihuatl for the rest of his life. Right? Boom. The power is that it's like he's giving everything up, that all those guys that were jealous of him, that's what they wanted. They can have it. That's not what he ever wanted. Right? So that is your close read guide. Done with that. Begin the evidence log. So the evidence log is the next thing, and it looks like this. And in the middle is really the main thing where you're putting the evidence from the text. That's where you're going to grab a quote, right? I'm going to use that paragraph I just did, maybe just the one line of he would watch over her for the rest of his life, right? And connection to the prompt. He can't choose the circumstance, but he can choose what he does in response to it. So he can choose to love who he wants, he just can't choose the outcome. Right? I feel like that's a good connection. Additional notes or ideas. I like this. I don't like the feel of it applied to me. I don't like the idea that I would have to live that way, that I wouldn't get like the ending I want, and that I would have to die like in this badass but romantic way, but still like, you know, not actually get the happiness that was promised at the beginning of the story, right? And that's where like the stories that make good stories are rarely the stories you want to live. Anyway, so I'd say this changes or adds to my thinking that like I can see where like I don't like to say things are out of my control. I like to say, hey, I should be the only one in charge. But guess what? I'm not, and it sucks. I'm not, and it sucks. And one of the ways I'm not is I can't control like whether I or my wife just die unexpectedly. Like I don't have control over that. All I have control over is how I love her now and how I would choose to love her in response to whatever might happen in our lives. That's all I can control, right? It's scary, but it feels true, even though I don't like it. So maybe it did change my position a little bit. So then, now we're to the questions that you guys would have done today. Kind of. Nope, it's past midnight. Anyway, yesterday. So, what prompted the Emperor to offer his warriors? What effect did it have? I think that's pretty obvious. How might the war and the deaths of Ixtaccihuatl and Popocatepetl have been avoided? So, this is getting us to like conceptualize, like, you know, if they could have helped the Emperor see that he was being dumb, if they could have gotten him excited about continuing his own like legacy, right? And if Popocatepetl, well, see, if he hadn't taken the bait, the thing is, the Emperor would have given her to somebody else. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, the time period, the way they lived then, what they would accept. And, you know, if they went against it, they would be ostracized by everybody. They basically would be dead, practically. Like, with, you know, or have to live as beggars. Do you think Popocatepetl decision at the end of the myth was a poor or a wise one? That's up to you. Why might the story be considered both romantic and tragic? Well, I think we see this for sure, right? We're seeing that it's romantic, that just like the way that they love each other in spite of everything, and the way he just goes to bat for her all the way, rejects everything. It's not about that. It's about her, right? He never folds. How does it act as a cautionary tale? Well, I think the person we're being cautioned against being is the father, right? That you don't see yourself in that place yet, but it's easy to get jealous of your kids. It's weird. So then the last thing you're going to do, which I'm going to assign tomorrow, is the selection assessment, where you just answer some questions relating to this. I'm not going to go over that right now, but I hope that overall this has helped you kind of think through your ideas on this text and get a little bit more of a grasp on it. I know it was a little bit long, but I hope you think it was worth it. I'm going to be doing these for most of our texts. I'm going to try and put some of them up before you actually do the text so that it can guide your thinking as you go. I just need to get ahead of things. I'm really excited about what we're doing next week. It's a poem I love called Annabel Lee by Edgar Allan Poe, so look forward to that. It has been a pleasure, you guys. I need to cut this off. Bye!